Sure if we're live, yeah. I think we're live. Right, Simon, we're back live.
Laurie thinks we're live. Tell me if we're live, guys. Send us a message, but we're here. So I'm just pretending I'm talking to everybody again. We were talking about the car crash. We've probably talked enough about that now. We've talked about how busy we all are. I've just missed a call from Maru, who's obviously manic up there. I've never seen anyone work so hard. I mean, literally, they start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and Maru is often still here at 11:30 at night, as is Rita. So it is full on. I mean, if you think you're having to look at and deal with 60 patients a day, some of which needs operations, some of which just need medication, it's a pretty hard thing to do. So credit to them. We've got lovely weather. I'm actually quite worried now because here we are, not even at the end of May, and it's so dry in the UK. The grass is already beginning to go a bit brown, and if we don't have any rain at all, we're going to have animals suffering on that extent next. I mean, the planet really has gone into some sort of appalling situation. I mean, I worry. I mean, the one thing I think I find about this sort of COVID situation and all the social distancing, and especially when you're shopping at a supermarket, I used to whiz around the supermarket in about 3 minutes flat and grab that and grab that. Actually, you do it much more leisurely now because you can't get in front of the people in front of you, and you walk around. It actually slows your pace of life down. I often say to people, when I joined, or when I started working in London, I had an hour and a half on the train in the morning so I could read a book and relax, then another hour and a half on the way home. But it gave you time just to slow down and enjoy things. And I think this COVID disaster has actually given us time to have a look at the world, to have a look at the surrounding, everything that surrounds us. And perhaps we'll want to carry that forward. Perhaps the new normal will be different from the old normal. I keep mentioning this paradigm shift, which nobody has come back to me on yet. The paradigm shift is a major change in the way we approach everything. I mean, planetarily. So yeah, that paradigm shift is what we need. Whether we will let that happen or whether all this will just go away and we'll go back to where we were, let's just hope mankind sees some sense and just realizes that we've got to give better protection to this planet. We've got to appreciate what it gives us and not just keep taking selfishly and be short-sighted. So any questions you've got about the lockdown, your thoughts on it, whether you've seen more of nature, whether you think the lockdown in a strange way has been a good thing, we'd love to hear your views. And Laurie will shout those over to me because he's just in the other side of the corridor, completing our social distancing. I'm still sitting in my office, which is why it's such a mess. I've got my mask, I've got my face mask. I mean, it's all ridiculous, guys. Here I am. It's fun, isn't it? So there we are. We're here. Laurie, give me another question if you've got any that's going.
We do have a couple of questions that have come in. People are still trying to reconnect, so apologies for that one. It seems that our internet just decided to disappear. But hopefully you guys are sort of migrating over to this new stream. If there are any issues, apparently we do keep breaking up. Hopefully that will sort itself shortly. But I'll see what I can do.
Perhaps we should do a live stream every night, Laurie. That would keep us on our toes, wouldn't it?
Yes, yeah. So some of the questions that have come in, Mega Tweet has actually asked me a question, which was, they were Googling the accident and came across an article from 2017 saying the caravan I used to be staying in was stolen, and did I get anything back? Unfortunately not. We didn't get anything back from that at all. The caravan, any of the bits in it, nothing came back from that. So sadly we had to rebuild from scratch.
I paid them so much money to steal that caravan because I thought the one way of getting rid of Laurie was to have the caravan stolen with him in it. Sadly, he wasn't in it, and it was, I mean, how it was stolen, we still have no idea, but it was pretty sad. We did a fundraiser at the time, and I know Laurie got something back, bits and pieces for some of his clothes. I just worry that he's been wearing the same underpants now for the last 4 years, but you can't have it always, guys. That's why he sits a long way away from me and downwind.
A couple of other questions. So P.T. Jane Pickering has asked, a hedgehog found its way into their living room the other morning. Not sure how or why, but what can they do to help local hedgehogs?
To be honest, the only thing hedgehogs need is not too many humans around them. I mean, there are still urban hedgehogs. I personally believe there will be urban extinction of hedgehogs within the next 15 years because of all the cars, all the roads, all the people, all these slug pellets, all these sort of things. But to help them, they need to be able to move from garden to garden. It's no good saying, oh, I'm going to protect hedgehogs, I'll have them in my garden, which is fully fenced and they'll be safe. They need to do what hedgehogs do at certain times of year, and they need to be able to move around. Average movement for a hedgehog is possibly up to 2 football pitches a night. That's when they're just looking for food, not when they're looking for the other thing. So yeah, you know, do make your garden friendly. Don't use nasty pesticides and slug pellets and all the horrible things, and cut a hole in your fence so they can move from garden to garden. They're great creatures. They are probably our most, or in Britain, they're the most uncontroversial and loved mammal we have. We think they're great, and it won't be long now before we start to get baby hedgehogs in. So just a big warning to everybody, if you're cleaning out your shed or changing your shed or doing anything, just be very careful, because we get so many calls to people who are cleaning their shed out, and at the back there's an old wrinkled up plastic bag, lots of ripped up plastic, and inside that is a hedgehog with babies. So please just be very careful, just think before you act, and if you've got any doubt, ring a wildlife centre for advice first to see what's going on, and we'll try and do it. My dogs are barking in the background, so apologies for that. They might come in and see us. I don't know whether Laurie's got a picture he can put up of my 3 terrors. They are all very beautiful. And the little puppy we had, because we love to cuddle him, is now the same size as the adult golden retriever and much the same weight. I mean, I think Toby is now 24 kilos and Bobby is about 30 kilos. So Toby has gone from 5 kilos to 24 kilos in just a very few weeks. He's going to be a mammoth dog, but he's delighted. And Laurie, who actually went up and worked in another office for a while at the beginning of this COVID thing, has come back, which means Bobby, who we all call the media dog, is now able to sit between Abby and Laurie every day and do his work. So there we are. Did you get
having the media dog back?
Did you get a picture up then, Laurie, of the doglets?
No. Unfortunately, we couldn't find one at the moment. I will keep searching.
Oh, Laurie. Anyway, any more questions? Anything coming in that I've missed?
A few. A couple of people are asking, do we have the new centre up and running yet?
The new TheWildlifeAid Centre, which I keep calling by the wrong name and my daughter keeps shouting at me. We're trying, guys. This is now obviously more than ever not a good time to build something like this. I mean, to actually build the whole thing from start to finish would be about £6.5 million. I personally think there will be people out there, very high net worth individuals, who could afford to give us quite a big boost towards it. If you know anyone you can speak to, get them to ring us, ring me, I'll speak to them. It's what would make it happen. What we are doing right now, and starting in about 2 weeks' time, is we're going to build the wetlands. That's for several reasons. Firstly, wetlands take a long time to develop, so we want to get them all built. They'll look horrible for a year or two. We're going to plant around them to make it all very natural habitat, and we need to raise the platform. Where we're going to build, we need the ground to be about 1 metre higher, 2 metre higher in places. So we need the dig from the wetlands to put on the platform so we can build the buildings on there. That's why the wetlands is happening first, and that should be happening on about the 1st of June, and will take about 12 to 16 weeks to build. Laurie, that reminds me, we've got to get some time-lapse stuff sorted out before then. I'd forgotten all about that. Laurie's remembered that. So yeah, it's going to happen, guys, but to do the big build will be either a miracle or some very high net worth individuals saying we can help you with that. And if, high net worth individuals speak to each other, I'm sure we could get a little posse of very wealthy people who would pay for this. It's going to be the most amazing centre. It's going to be very focused not only on the work we do now and teaching vet nurses and vets how to deal with wildlife, but it's going to be quite educational. We need our children to understand why we need the wildlife, why the wildlife needs the habitat to make this planet stay in balance. I've always said my favourite word, here we go, food chain. It's all about the food chain. I mean, if you think about it, we all sort of protect the lions and the tigers and all the big animals on the planet, but actually if we lost the animals at the lower end of the food chain, we would lose the big animals too. So we all rely on those little invertebrates right at the bottom for everything else to survive, for everything else to eat everything else, which is sadly what nature's all about. We just need to get rid of a few people. But I'm not allowed to go there. I have a large note on my diary saying I mustn't go down that route because I get into big trouble.
Yes.
Yes, says Laurie.
I have found a photo of Bobby and Toby, a little younger, and that is going live
right now.
Yeah, so it's on the screen now.
So Toby is now 100 times bigger than that. He's as big as Bobby. They're both beautiful, and we've got Sky, who's a black flat coat retriever, which Laurie may or may not find later on, who keeps them all in check. Sky is now 8.5. He's getting a bit elderly. Flat coats sadly don't have very, very long lives, but he's doing fine at the moment, and they all are great together. And they are great. I mean, any pet is a great stress buster. You have a bad day, you sit on the chair thinking, I've had it, you put your hand down, and there's a wet nose giving you unconditional love, and it just slows you down and makes you appreciate things. I mean, I just wanted, again, I'm going to say to you, has anybody had any great environmental experiences from this lockdown? Have you found that you're taking more of your natural surroundings in? Are you looking more? Are you having time to look more? Let us have your comments, because that's really important to me. I just think the mental side of all of this, the mental attitude we have, and the fact that we need to slow down could make this paradigm shift a thing that could make so much difference to this planet. It would be just amazing. I promise not to say paradigm shift again tonight, Laurie.
Teresa has asked, what is the one animal that's the most difficult to get back to the wild?
Laurie, without doubt, Laurie. They didn't take him in his caravan. They left him here. I don't think he's ever going to go wild again, Laurie. He couldn't even get wild when he got out the car the other day when we had the crash because he couldn't move. There really is no animal that difficult to get back to the wild, providing while it's in care in a wildlife hospital, it is treated and looked after in the correct way. Lots of centres will say, oh, it got imprinted, it got humanised, whatever. That's just because the handling when it was close to people was wrong. If you don't get close to them, if you don't talk to them, certainly don't pick them up and cuddle them, they can go back to the wild, and we are very strict here. I mean, we don't let our volunteers talk to the animals in our care, we don't name the animals in our care, we just try to do the very best for the animal. You know, I'm pretty bad because I don't think about the people who do it all. I just get very cross about the animals, and we have such an amazing band of volunteers, 375 of them, slightly less at the moment because sadly some of them can't come back because they're over 70, or they have a situation, a medical situation where they can't come in. So we're short of volunteers, we're short of receptionists, we're short of everything at the moment, and this is our busiest time of year. But to those who are here, I cannot thank you enough for doing all you do. We've got so many of our volunteers doing double shifts, coming in doing extra shifts to try to keep us going, because we do work literally 7 days a week and we are on call 24 hours a day, but we're staffed from sort of 8:30 in the morning until sometimes at this time of year midnight, which is a very long, tiring day for all of them. They work so hard. God bless their cotton socks if they wear them. Laurie, off you go. I've been speaking all the time. It's your turn now to speak for a bit.
Pixie Jane Pickering has asked, what can she feed the local hedgehogs?
Oh, I'm going to let you speak, Laurie. I'm going to have a rest now. I'm going to have a sip of my Coca-Cola and let you answer that question.
So, whilst usually we don't recommend feeding wild animals, you can get them habituated to particular food sources, and then if you move away or stop feeding, it can be quite difficult for them to move backwards. So usually we would not recommend putting food out for an animal unless it is suffering and in need of a bit of support. In terms of what you can put out for hedgehogs, mashed up dog or cat food, as long as it's not fish flavoured, so the meat type, along with small cat biscuits, is usually the best way of doing it. Please don't put out milk. Hedgehogs are lactose intolerant, and they get a very bad dose of diarrhea, and that results in dehydration, and we've seen quite a few sadly not make it through that. And please don't put out mealworms either. It's not good for the teeth, and it can end up with brittle bone disease as a result of the nutritional imbalance.
So there's Laurie's effigy. I said effigy then. That wasn't the word I wanted at all.
I hope not.
No, it was another thing. Whatever it is, it's the word that he said. Laurie's done his bit for the night. Laurie, I'm still not getting live stream stuff through. Are you getting words coming up on your streams? I'm not seeing any
So we
words
are
from
on a
people.
different stream at the moment, so you have the old stream on there. We can get that one back up, but it will be...
No, let's leave it. I will work blind as I normally do. I will work totally blind, so I can't see what you're writing, guys. Now Laurie can, so it's up to Laurie to tell me what's going on and whether I need to say anything, ask anything, or whatever.
Yeah, speaking of that, we've had 2 donations. We've had €200 from Sven, who donates on every single one of these live streams that we've ever done. So thank you very much, Sven. And he's written, please get a new car, but please don't replace Laurie. So thank you, I appreciate that one.
I'll take that under advisement, Laurie. I'm not quite sure how to answer that one. I need
You're not allowed to fine me for a year and 3 months at the moment.
Why?
Because I repaired that particular thing that you couldn't repair, and you promised me that you wouldn't fine me for a year and 3 months if I did it.
But you forget my senile dementia, and I've forgotten that I said that, so it doesn't count.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So he is at risk, guys.
Bunny Objects has also donated €20.
Thank you.
And has written, I saw a whitetail picking squished flies from a car bumper and feeding them to its 2 chicks. Lovely to see.
That's quite cute.
It is, yeah.
It is quite
Very
cute.
resourceful whitetail in that one. There's also a birthday shout out to Laura Kane, whose birthday it is tomorrow. So happy birthday for tomorrow. From both of us, I believe.
Is Laura from England, or is she from somewhere else on this massive planet?
Laura is one of our volunteers.
Oh, she
Well,
is.
she's in England.
See, that's how insane I am, guys. That's how worrying it all is with me now. You know, say something, forget what I've said, don't know what I'm doing. But there we are. Yeah, happy birthday. I hope you're going to donate all your birthday money to Wildlife Aid, as well as do double shifts for a month. That would be really
On
good.
that note, she's just giving us £3.
Oh, you're a star.
Thank you very much.
Now I feel guilty. we actually had a donation this afternoon from a gentleman in London, and it was £1,000. It's somebody I knew from about 10 years ago, and I rang up and thanked them for it, and we had a very long chat, and we shall be talking more because she's an absolute animal fanatic. She does lots of walking for everything. My doorbell's about to ring because Amazon are here. So yeah, so if you hear the doorbell ring in a minute, guys, ignore it. I hope he doesn't. I hope he just puts them down. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, it is manic here now. I mean, and for the next, really, what do we got? What are we on now? May, June. Next 3 months, we're going to get no respite at all.
It can only get busier.
It can, sadly, but we will keep going. And if we have a rescue car, we'll go out and do some rescues as well. We also lost our boat, our rescue boat. Sadly has gone to heaven. We were going to get it repaired, but the guy who came down to look at it said, it's not worth it, guys, you need a new one. So we're now trying to look to see what the best type of rescue boat would do. We want something that's very light because our boat is quite heavy, and Laurie sometimes has to carry it across fields, through woodland, and it's an absolute nightmare. But we need a boat that's fast enough to sort of catch something on the water, obviously, and our old boat was a bit slow at that. And Laurie and I think Laurie's putting on weight because this boat over the last year has been getting lower and lower in the water. And one day we're going to be swimming like crazy because it's going to sink.
I don't think it helps that there's 3 very large cracks in the flotation sides of it.
No, probably doesn't help a lot. So new boat, I'm talking to somebody this afternoon who's going to look into it for us. We need a really lightweight rib that is easy to carry, but the trouble is we need a motor or an engine that's fast enough to drive this boat. If we had to catch a swan that was about to take off, it's got to be quite quick. I mean, for some of our rescues, we don't need a quick boat, which is why we have an electric motor. It's silent and it's sort of fine. But if a swan decides to take off, I don't know what they're doing at takeoff, Laurie. They must be doing quite a fair thwack. I mean, 20 miles an hour plus, I suspect, when they're taking off.
Get up to.
Yeah, and even I make Laurie row and it still doesn't work. So there we are. We will get a new boat in time. We might have to raise some money for it. So again, any donations really, really help. I mean, I actually think, Laurie, that Sven is a secret multi-billionaire because he gives us so much money. I think we need to go and visit Sven and threaten him with something terrible. Sven, you're a star. Thanks so much for supporting us so well.
Sven has actually been here.
I know.
Met Sven in person before,
he did.
before the lockdown stuff happened. Very, very nice guy. A couple more donations have been coming in. So Lanny and Lucy has donated €5. Again, a regular donation sure to follow the same group of foxes through. So, Linda Sherman's donated $10, so thank you very much, Linda. Carla Bennett has donated £5 from Carla and Rory. Thank you both. That's very kind of you. Lene or Len, I'm not entirely sure. Nielsen has donated 300 Danish kroner. Thank you very much. It's put a contribution to your new car. That's very, very kind. We will be on the lookout for a new car on that one, I'm afraid. But,
I think people should be starting to donate for a neck brace for you, Laurie, because I'm not going to let him off work. He's going to have to work through. I've offered to sort of put a large rod down his back into his neck and screw it in so he keeps him straight. But he really is suffering, poor chap, today. He really, when he talks to me, he has to turn his whole body when he wants to look round a corner.
Yeah, I can't make my neck more about that without it hurting.
It's really quite sad that I'm so fit and you're not so fit, Laurie, really. I mean, I'm perfect, you know me.
It's just like, for those of you who've seen the James Bond films where Blofeld turned around, it's like that at the moment. I have to do everything with the chair.
Are you trying to say that I'm more like James Bond, Laurie? Is that what you're trying to say to me?
No, you're almost certainly more like Blofeld. I can see you as an evil villain.
Thank you, Laurie. It's the end of your pay rise for the next 23 years. That's how it goes, guys. Any more questions, Laurie, coming in while we're talking? Somebody tell me what they're thinking about lockdown. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me your good things, your bad things. Let's talk a little bit about lockdown. I can't see the questions, so I shall rely on Laurie to tell me what they are, if any.
Hannah has just asked, how do you deal with aggression or threats from others when on a rescue? They were threatened with an electric hedge trimmer today because they asked the caretaker not to trim a hedge with a chaffinch nest in it. So other than the fact that trimming a hedge with a notable nest in it and intentionally disturbing a nest is illegal here in the UK, how would we deal with aggression or threats?
It is tricky, guys. How I deal with it, I'm sure, is not in the playbook. Yeah, I would just do what I do, and they wouldn't threaten me again. But having said that, you do have to be careful. You have to look out for your own welfare. All you can do is take pictures or take video, so you can go to the press with it or to the police with it if they've done something illegal. It is illegal to cut trees and hedges at this time of year unless they've done a full inspection first to make sure there are no nests. We actually had one of our volunteers recently, in fact in the last 2 weeks I think, stuck herself up in a tree because they were cutting down some woodland. We know there were nests in the trees. The tree surgeons were not at all pleasant, and in fact that's probably the understatement. So she went and got up in a tree and stopped them doing what they were doing. The police were called. The odd thing is the police threatened to remove our volunteer for disturbing the peace at one point, which I can't quite understand that, but never mind. You know, yes, just be careful, guys. You get some evidence if you can, but don't put yourself at risk because there's far more animals need saving than we have people who care about them. So just be a bit careful in dealing with that. Do your own thing, or take a very, very large SAS type man with you, and I'm sure they wouldn't threaten you again.
Yeah. We're quite lucky, I have to say, on rescues that we don't often get anyone showing aggression. We get a few funny looks and a few odd questions, but in terms of interference, the only real interference we've had recently, we were doing a badger rescue just outside a golf course, and we actually had the police pull up and demanded that we vacate there and go and speak to them because they thought we were trespassing on the golf course. They were very, very helpful once they realised what we were doing, but they'd had reports that our car was just parked by the side of the road and people had made their way onto the golf course. So.
I mean, it was very late at night, Laurie. It was very late at night. We didn't have our lights on. It was near a very, very, very expensive housing estate, and they obviously thought we'd sneaked in the back to burglar a house. And when they asked me to come out, I said I can't. I've got a badger on a grasper.
Yeah.
They actually just stood and waited for us to come out. We had a good old chat. It was fantastic. But yes, I can understand they're doing their job. They think we might be not good people, and we were parked on a verge, something near midnight, I think it was, to be honest.
Yeah, it was quite late at night. A few more donations have come in, so thank you very, very much for everyone who has donated so far. Scottish Astronomer donated £20 and has put, I hope this helps towards the new car or a neck brace for Laurie. Thank you very much.
Did you enjoy your book, Scottish Astronomer? Have you got it? Have you read it?
Yes, she actually left a comment on the last live stream saying that it had arrived, so I hope it hasn't discoloured your view of Simon too much.
Yeah, it's slightly worrying that you have to take it with a pinch of salt or a pinch of pepper, whichever you prefer. But that probably is getting quite near the real me. But it was very, very abridged. It did not go out unabridged, I can assure you.
App City's also just donated $2, so thank you very much. That's very kind.
Every single penny helps, and it will continue to help. And if we can get this new centre belt, it's just weird. What have we had, Laurie? Now 125 million views on a YouTube channel.
I think we've got more than that actually.
I'm
not sure you know this yet, but we're currently on 403,000 subscribers.
We broke 400. I was going to buy Laurie a bottle of champagne. We broke 400,000. But I did.
400 in the middle of last week.
I didn't know that, so Laurie will have to wait till we hit 1 million viewers before I buy him a bottle of champagne now. So just imagine if every one of you 400,000 subscribers just gave us £10, that would really nearly be the new centre. It's so when you think of it, you know, if everybody in Surrey gave us £1 for the new centre, we'd have the new centre. It seems so easy to raise this sort of money. And yet it's virtually impossible. So we are praying, we hope every day that something happens, but one day we will get it built, I hope, because I think it could go a long way to helping wildlife here, to helping the treatment of wildlife, and to spread the word. Spread the word is what it's all about, guys.
Just had another donation come in, two more actually, one from Myra Kinghorn, who is one of our volunteers and is basically the only person who can keep Simon's office in a totally non-messy state.
Wrong on that, Laurie. Since we've had this social distancing, my office is a disaster again. Absolutely, totally.
That's why I'm in here. It's not social distancing. I just can't bear to be anywhere near it.
You can't get near me because of all this piles of stuff everywhere in my office. So there we are. Myra, thank you. You can't have any money left.
£50.
Who has?
Myra.
Myra, I'm going to smack your bottom. I'm sorry, that's too much. You can't afford it. That's just insanity. Now, I know you're insane, and I'm insane as well, but honestly, your generosity is overwhelming. Being quite serious about it, guys. People who really don't have millions and millions give more than those who do have millions and millions, which is always a bit of a trouble. But Myra, thank you so much.
To be honest, I think Lou, who is our deputy CEO and Simon's daughter, summed it up best of all and put, "You tackled Dad's office, we should be paying you." I think that's quite accurate.
No, she should be paying me for the privilege of working here, Laurie. Let's get this right. Let's get it into context.
The Warren has also donated €50 and has put, "I know Simon gets a lot of most memorable questions. Last stream there was one about animals you thought wouldn't make it, and you forgot to mention Tiny Tim." So for those of us in the stream that don't necessarily know about Tiny Tim, could you elaborate?
No.
Tiny Tim was a tiny badger cub. I'll see if I can find a picture on the system somewhere.
Did he make it?
Almost furless.
Did Tiny Tim make it?
I'm not sure. I think so.
Oh no, the one that didn't make it was CT, wasn't it? That was a really sad story. Sadly, also we had. I mean, some of our work is great, and we get real kick from it, but you get the real lows, guys. I mean, we've had some badger cubs in this year. I think we've got. Well, we did have 6. So you know what's coming next. We had a badger in. He'd been found on a golf course. He was walking around in circles. He was very dehydrated, very disorientated. So we just had to sort of stabilise him out for a couple of days. But when we got to him and he was strong enough to be examined properly, we discovered that he was blind in one eye, and in fact he didn't even have a second eye. So he was a sightless badger. Now a badger with one eye will probably make it because their eyesight's not brilliant, but a badger with no eyes certainly won't. So you get something in like that. He was so beautiful. He's a furry ball, and he was put to sleep yesterday, and that it just chokes me every time it happens. It really hacks me off that we couldn't get it back, but there's nothing we did or there's nothing we could have done to make it better, and you can't have a blind badger. That is not the life they live, and he would succumb to something very unpleasant, I suspect. So it's not all good here, but hopefully most of it is.
Yeah, to make it a little better, here is a photo of Tiny Tim.
I can't see this photo, guys, so I have forgotten because it was so many years ago now. I hate to think how many years ago we're looking at, Laurie.
Oh, many years ago.
Probably 30 years ago when I still had hair and was young and had a memory.
Not that long ago. Tiny Tim was 2005.
Was he really?
Yeah. I may have been 12 at the time,
Just don't rub it in, Brady, otherwise I'll come and kick your neck.
Will's channel of boring videos has just asked, what is a controversial species?
Mankind, the most controversial species I know, and to me it's not controversy, it's absolutely written in stone. We do have some species here. There are always or often animals people don't like or do like. I mean, some people love rats, some hate them. Some people love, I don't know, just various things. Some people hate corvids, some people love them. You're always going to get controversy, if that's the word I want. It depends, and you get an animal in here which you think we probably wouldn't particularly like, and they just got a character of their own. I mean, every animal has a character, they all have sentience, and yeah, we deal with them all. And some of them bite us and some of them love us. Well, no animal loves you. I always have big rows about, oh, my dog loves me. Because he loves you, you feed him. He loves the food you give him. He doesn't particularly love you, but they do give you unconditional love. So I better cut out on that one before I lose the battle, Laurie, I think.
In fact, a couple of questions wondering whether we have any of the YouTube awards. So I'm just going to disappear for a couple of seconds.
I don't think we have any. We've got something we got when we had 100,000 views, and Laurie got very excited about that. And we don't get another one until we get, no, not views, subscribers. 100,000 subscribers, we got a YouTube award. And
I have it on camera at the moment.
It's on camera, and we don't get the next one, Laurie, until we hit 1 million subscribers. So if you could all speak to your friends and get everybody to subscribe, we could go from 400,000 to 1 million, and Laurie would have a big smile on his little face.
We do want the million one. We do want the million one.
I just want the money, right? I don't care about awards. We just need the money. The more money we get, the more work we can do, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Everybody says to me, why do you do your work? It is for the animals, but it's sadly, regrettably, money that makes it all work and makes it all happen. So the more money we get, the more work we can do, and that's where we go forward. So awards are lovely, I suppose, but at the end of the day, it's all about saving the animals, and it does make a difference. That one, I have a favourite poem called Starfish. I'm not going to do it now because it would take too long, but if you all, when you finish listening to this or watching this, just Google the poem Starfish. That, guys, is what it's all about at the end of the day.
We actually have a video on the channel of you talking about the Starfish poem, so if you just search Starfish poem Wildlife Aid, you'll get Simon's version of that poem.
I did a Christmas one too. I did the Christmas Carol, didn't I? Was it Christmas Carol?
Christmas message, I think.
Christmas, whatever it is. I did that a few years ago. That was nice. I like doing things like that. Ask me to do more. Get me talking more. Get me to do after dinner speaking. I love all that sort of rubbish. And if it brings awareness, if it makes people think about the wildlife we have here and what we can do to help them, that is what it's all about, guys. Laurie, bung us another question and then you can answer some of them too.
Jehoro O has asked, what is your favourite bird? We've had a lot of favourite animals, but I don't think we've had a favourite bird.
Oh, I don't. Everybody thinks I have favourites. I really don't. It's like, what's my favourite rescue? It's probably the one I'm on right now. What's your favourite release? Probably the one I'm going to do tomorrow. Do I have a favourite bird? No, not particularly. I mean, I love the kites and the buzzards, but I love them all, and some have characters. We had a jackdaw here once who we released it, and it went off and it stayed here for ages, and he just was an amazing character. So they're all my favourite. Any wild animal is without doubt my favourite.
Gillian Robson has put, that is super stamina from Team Wildlife, fantastic efforts. I am an NHS key worker, so it's really busy. I'd love to volunteer to help, as I am happy being outdoors in all weather and terrain. For a start, can I just say thank you very much from myself and presumably from Simon for all that you are doing on the front line of the NHS. Massive respect to you for that one. And in terms of the volunteering, unfortunately we have had to suspend our volunteer admissions at the moment due to everything that's going on. We can't do training, it's very hands-on. But as and when this moves forwards and we're able to open up again, we would absolutely love to have you on board. So please check the website when this is all done. There is a volunteer application form on there, and hopefully we can see you at the centre at some point.
Yeah, I mean, to all the people who are nurses or doctors or anything to do with the NHS at the moment, I mean, I think the world owes you a huge, huge thank you. You'll never get a good enough thank you in my mind. And I must admit, if I was a retired doctor and they'd asked me to come back to help, I'm too much of a coward. I would have been terrified. So hats off to you is the understatement totally for the work you do and for the dedication you give. I like to think we're probably fifth best to you lot, but we do our bit as well. But my God, you've shone the light forward this year, guys.
Entrant Year 73 is just asked, are we still planning to do an open day in July? And I think the answer is yes, but a lot different to what we would usually do, because unfortunately we don't think we're going to be able to be open for a public event with that many people here by July. The current plan is to do an online version of our open day.
A virtual open day is what we're talking about at the moment.
Open day, yeah.
Yeah.
Very well thought of by Alice, who is our office manager. And that would be not only the stores that we would usually have, so the opportunity to buy items. For those of you who haven't been to our open day, we work with a lot of local sort of artists and creatives. So we have a lot of animal art, animal imagery, anything like that for sales. That will still be there. We're hoping to do live talks as well. So just as it would be before, live Q&As, live craft sessions, how to sort of upcycle things like toilet roll tubes into little models of boxes and stuff like that. But we're still in the discussion phase for that one. But hopefully something will be done on there. So please watch this space.
We want a special competition to how to recycle lorry. I think that would be the most amusing one of all. Yeah, guys, we don't know at the moment. We're still talking about it. I mean, if we could have a small open day, we might still try and do it, but it's a hell of a lot of work for Alice to get through. So it's more likely to be a virtual one this year. I'm really sorry. Who knows what's going to happen? We were going to have a big ball at the end of this year, which was going to be a massive fundraiser for us. And that was being arranged by one of our volunteers, Sienna. Sadly, that isn't going to go ahead either because everybody's too unsure of where we're going to be. And nobody does know really the future. We know where we are now. We know it's not quite as critical, but it's still obviously very worrying. We don't know whether we're going to get a second wave. Nobody in the world, I think, knows where we're going to come out of this. We just hope, if we're very careful, that we will come out of it in a way that works. And I just hope we, as I say, and I won't use that word again that I promised to, but I hope we come out with a new normal which really pays a bit of homage to our planet that supports us, as opposed to just being vile and taking and taking and taking. We need to give something back, guys. We need to give it back big time.
There are quite a few people in the chat that are discussing how lockdown has actually helped them listen and connect more with wildlife. They're hearing bird song, they're seeing things like fledgling birds that you wouldn't necessarily have seen. We've had fox cubs in gardens that people have been watching through windows. I think you would agree as well. It has helped people connect and appreciate with nature a lot more.
I think it's helped to slow down a bit because we can't do everything so fast. We're just generally, because you can't go around the supermarket so fast, it actually slows you down for your entire day. And I think if it gives us just a tiny glimpse of what we could be like going forward in the future, that's got to be a good thing. It was for a few weeks here. It was much quieter on the roads. It was the whole atmosphere smelt better. Whether that's just psychological or not, I don't know. But yeah, guys, let's hope the politicians and all those people in power take a bit of notice of this, because without them coming on board and joining us in how we feel it should be, it's going to be a bit of an uphill struggle.
Scottish astronomer has just said her sister is a paramedic who caught COVID-19. I really do hope she's okay. Been in hospital for weeks, and her dad is a retired GP and has been helping out. So I really hope everyone is okay and makes a full recovery on that one. And thank you once again for all of their efforts in keeping the rest of us safe from this.
Very, very brave. I know when Laurie and I got out of the car yesterday, we got out thinking, blimey, we can still walk. There's nothing that broken. The one thing we both said is, thank heavens we didn't have to go to hospital. I mean, it's terrifying, the thought of having to, or being so close to COVID-19. I mean, we're all worried about it. Perhaps we're getting a bit paranoid about it now because, I mean, hospitals are perfectly safe. If you have a problem, you should certainly go to hospital. Not everybody's got COVID-19 in there. They are safe places, guys, so don't panic too much. but I'm just quite grateful that I didn't have to go to hospital. If Laurie had been really bad, it would have been quite easy. He wouldn't have had to go to hospital. I would have just shot him. So that would have been simple for me. Now I'm going to get the wrath of his mother, which I shan't enjoy for the next conversation, but never mind.
And my girlfriend who is watching this.
I'm not quite so scared of Alana as I am of your mother. I think your mother's the one that really scares me.
Jane Bruin has just donated $20 Australian, so thank you very much, Jane.
That is awesome. Every penny helps. I mean, we can never say it enough. Every single penny helps. Every pound helps more. And every 6.5 million would probably give me a heart attack, so perhaps that would be a bit dangerous.
Kieran has put, whenever I see an animal in need, I hate if people see me and think I'm weird for helping an animal and don't understand what I'm doing. How do you cope with people staring and not understanding why you're saving an animal? So that is something that does happen quite a bit. I personally, I'm not sure about you, Zoe, and I imagine the same is true. I've been out on rescues where I've had heckles and what you're doing, it's only a pigeon, what you're doing, it's only a fox, what the blank are you doing? A lot of that does happen, and unfortunately you have to take it on the chin. You're there, you're doing a job, you're trying to do the best you can. It does happen, and if people don't understand, that's on them, to be honest, in my opinion.
It depends whether you'd rather be classed as normal, Laurie, or insane, and I much prefer the insanity route. The insanity route works for me. If we're viewed to be a bit weird, good on us. That's it. That's us. I'm just who I am. If people don't like it, they know what they can do. Yeah. I mean, if anybody gets tough with me and rough with me, I just stand behind Laurie. Everything works for me. I mean, Laurie is the be-all and end-all here, really.
That's not true in the slightest.
I don't know.
CEO/founder.
Flounderer. I might be a flounderer. I'm not a founder maybe, but flounder is much more realistic nowadays. Laurie tried to get me. I had to go over about a 5 or 6 foot gate the other day, about 3 or 4 times after a deer. And, you know, I did it, but if Laurie hadn't have been there pushing up one leg, then pushing down the other leg, then pushing this bit of me up, I wouldn't have done it. So, yeah, I do struggle a bit on the old gates and the old high stuff nowadays, which is why I never climb trees anymore. But even Laurie can't do it this week. Laurie's forbidden to climb trees until his neck's better. So off we go.
Luckily we do have several people. So we've got Richard Simmons, the wildlife artist that was on this live stream a couple of months ago, and Dan Simmons, no relation.
Laurie, can I just stop you there for a second?
Yeah.
You know I said I was scared of your mother.
Oh, have you got a text already?
I just got a text saying, I hasten to add, this is all in capitals, Laurie, all in capitals, and they seem to be much bigger capitals than normal. You would have shot him, question, 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 question. I really didn't mean that, Mummy. We all love you, Mummy. I would only have pretended to shot him. And yes, I don't know how to get... Laurie, get me out of this one. It was a joke.
You yourself that hole.
Yeah, yeah, I think I've shot myself in the foot or somewhere else.
Just reading through some of the questions. Just had an email in actually. Question from Gillian. What do you think has happened to the blue tit nest? So we do actually have a nest of blue tits that is on one of our webcams. At the weekend, unfortunately, we had a sparrow that broke through one of the sort of little plastic windows on the side and broke in and unfortunately killed 2 of the youngsters. We did check on the nest and we had 7 babies that had made it and were gaping as normal. The sparrow did come back one further time but has not since. So the ones in there at the moment, we are keeping an eye on them. At the moment we do have parents coming back that are feeding, but we are keeping an eye, and if anything happens then we'll think about the intervening side of things.
This is going to upset you now, Laurie, because look, I'm just going to, I watch all these screens all the day, and these are the 7 blue tits in question. They're all fine.
You're currently pointing it towards the bottom of the screen.
Okay, is that better? Okay, so that is the blue tit nest. There's 7 of them. They're doing fine. A few years ago, we had a woodpecker go into a blue tit's nest and kill them all. Luckily, this sparrow. Has anybody? A question, interesting, really big question now. Has anybody else ever heard of something like a sparrow going to kill blue tits? Because it's a shock to me after 40 years. I never knew that sort of thing happened. So if anybody else has had that experience of knowing that sparrows go and do it as well, I'd be surprised. So yeah, they're all doing fine, and the other nest is doing fine. The badgers are doing fine. They're now up in the top flight. And is my camera in the right place, Laurie? Because I just put it back.
It's a little low, but it's not bad.
It'll do. I'll just squash in my chair a little bit lower. Cool. So yeah, blue tits are doing well. Do go onto our webcams, guys. This time of year, the webcams get quite interesting. We do tend to move them around a bit. And as I say, the 5 badger cubs all together now are up in the big flight. So they'll be there until they are released by us in, depending upon the weather, September, October, November. They need to go in the right conditions so the ground's good enough for them to find food. Because 50% of a badger's diet, believe it or not, is worms. So we don't want the ground to be rock solid when we release them, otherwise they'll be in trouble. However, we do support feed them often through the entire winter if we don't think they're getting enough food. So they go out with a good head start, and all our badgers go out quite close to obesity. I get very angry, or the badger groups get cross with me because my badgers don't go out at 9 or 10 kilos. They normally go out to the wild at 12 to 15 kilos. So they're the big boys of Surrey.
Kid Tarracona, or Tarracona, I'm not entirely sure how that's pronounced. Says, but I'm currently making some British wildlife themed key rings to sell in my Etsy shop and raise funds for you guys. I hope that's okay.
You are a star. Anything that raises funds is absolutely great with us. You know, you have no idea, or perhaps you don't even think about it that much, guys, but your support means that we keep going. Without that support and without our 375 volunteers, we would not be here. It's as simple as that. So it's no great stream for us. You know, we are here because of you, and the more support you give us, the more work we can do, and Mary can get through her 60 patients a day. And it's all, yes, heavy stuff, but we love it and we wouldn't change it for the world. Right, we're getting quite near to the hour now.
We are, yes. We've got a couple more questions, but we will start to wrap it up in a couple of minutes. Chihuro O is asked, do we take in bats, or are we afraid of how many diseases that we might catch from them?
I think bats catch more diseases from us. Yes, we take in everything. We deal with all British wildlife. End of story. It will never change. It doesn't matter what species it is. Bats are absolutely fine. You do have the option here when you are a wildlife aid carer, or a wildlife carer I should say, you do have the option of going to your vet and asking for a rabies shot. We have never known, I've never heard of any rabid bats in this country apart from ones in labs, and I know somebody did get killed a few years ago because he was working with them in a laboratory situation. I've never known a wild bat carrying rabies, and certainly no human in the UK has ever got rabies from a wild bat. So they're all cute. They're all very cute and very lovable and very, very clever animals. Do you know a bat has to eat, a little pipistrel bat has to eat 3,000 insects a night to survive? That's a hell of a lot of insects, Laurie.
It is. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to eat that many insects. Chris has just asked, how common are swifts in and around London?
London, I don't know particularly. I guess they're in London because they all like the right sort of houses to go to. We get lots around here. They've all started coming in now this year. I've also heard our resident cuckoo has come back for the last couple of weeks. I hear him every morning about 5 o'clock in the morning. Great noise to hear. So I think, yeah, animals adapt actually faster than man. Animals are very good at adapting if they have to. And you know, you will find animals coming into areas where they didn't before. When we had the lockdown, animals were coming much nearer the roads. They were coming out into places where we didn't normally see them. They take advantage of what they can. What we have to be careful with as we take lockdown away is animals will take just a little bit of time to get used to the fact that humans are back and cars are back. So please don't drive so fast. I was driving down our road on a rescue here a few weeks ago when we were in the middle of lockdown, and a very fast car, I think it was a Ferrari, came the other way. He must have been doing 130 down a 40-mile-an-hour limit road, and he was really hacking it. And I think people were driving fast because they thought, well, there's nobody else, I can do what I want. Guys, as we come out of lockdown, watch your speed, but particularly watch your speed, because there will be animals who aren't quite used to so many cars on the road. So be careful and be respectful, please, of our wildlife.
Yeah. A few people are commenting about rabies. So luckily here in the UK, we don't have a massive issue with rabies. The bats have been known to carry it, but it's only in certain species, which we tend not to see that much. It's never been seen in most of the species that we deal with. But as Simon says, any
No, you can have one last question, Laurie, because I get told off when we run over and over our hour. So you've got one more question, then we're going to say goodbye to you all, you lovely people. Though we did lose probably, what, 5 minutes in the beginning of it. So
yes, yeah, we did.
We've got a bit of an
People
excuse.
saying it's only at 47 minutes. For those of you that did join us halfway through, unfortunately we did try and view this earlier, but our internet decided it wasn't having any of it and dropped out. So we've actually had to do 2 separate live streams. Just having a flick through 4 questions.
Shall I sing a song while we're waiting? Or can I sing a song? I haven't sung a song for ages.
Oh God, I'll mute your audio.
Thank you.
We've had a donation from Linda Harwood, who's just put, can't get a super chat to like me, but sent the first instalment of £50 towards Simon's £140 in donations last month. Another 20 coming this month. Thank you very, very much, Linda. That's very kind of you.
You're all stars. You're very, very lovely people.
Scrolling down. Sorry, it's quite difficult to see the live stream at the moment.
Laurie can't see the live stream because he can't lower his neck. He has to lower his whole body to look down the bottom of the stream. Laurie's gone very quiet. It's always when you do live radio, they always say you should never have more than a 4-second silence. So everybody always panics when it goes silent. You sort of look at your watch to see if you're going to go over 4 seconds. So I just managed to speak, as always, absolute rubbish for the 4 seconds while Laurie finds the question.
A lot of people are asking you to play the trumpet.
Heavens above, I do miss that. I wonder what my life would have been if I'd taken up music, which I very nearly did. I was sort of going to take up music, and I love music. I think music makes the world go round. I think music will be the saviour of the world. I actually watched Cats the other night. I hadn't watched Cats for a long time, and I just get lost in musicals. I think it's such a powerful thing, and if you think of all the big fundraisers we've had over the years with Live Aid and Water Aid and all the other things, it's all been driven by music. So music's very therapeutic, like our pets are. But me playing the trumpet, I can assure you guys, would not be therapeutic. I promise you.
I have to say, even I have never heard Simon play the trumpet, and I've worked here, coming up to 5 years.
Well, I have played it a few times. Perhaps you've never been in the house at the time. You would have known. You would have heard it.
You seem to wait until there's no one within a 2-mile radius before you get it out.
Yeah, happens. First tune I ever played on the trumpet was Volare. If anybody's old enough to remember that tune, Volare. One day, if you're very lucky, I might play you a few bars, but it'll probably blow all the filters off all our microphones.
So Kieran has asked, recently spotted a dead baby rabbit in a park that had signs of an animal attack. Why was it attacked and not eaten?
Unknown. It's rather like people say, I've got this rabbit or I've got this animal, it's got a problem, can you give me something for it? We can't diagnose unless we see the animal itself. There could be a million reasons why that happened. I don't know. We tend, when we do have an animal die like that, we do leave it out in the wild because it completes the food chain. I've said that word again now. But, you know, animals eat animals. That's the way nature is. And that will give sustenance to some other animal at some point. Why it died without seeing it, and even then we probably wouldn't know. We often have animals post-mortemed here at Wildlife Aid by professionals. We send them away to be post-mortem. And in the 40 years we've been here, the only thing in my memory that a post-mortem tells us is what it didn't die of, never what it actually did die of, pinpointed. So who knows, guys? Not going to answer that one.
Dan has asked, do you think we'll get seals in the UK? We actually do get seals in the UK.
We have lots of seals in the UK.
We've got 2 main species, the harbour seal and the grey seal. We don't get them here because we're quite a long way from the coast, but other wildlife rescues near us do regularly deal with seals. I have to say, I did a marine mammal medic course a number of years ago, and I would not want to get on the wrong side of a seal. They can be very bitey and very dangerous.
They're pussycats, Laurie, pussycats. I fed seals. Remember when I went to South Africa, I had to feed rehabilitating seals, which means you have to put a funnel in your mouth full of liquidized fish food. And so you've got the funnel in your mouth sort of sticking out like that, and you're pouring this fish food in. And I've never had such a disgusting smell in my life, and you tube feed seals like that. It's like all animals, they're fine, they're probably scared of you. you get them better, you get them back out to the wild, and you've done a good thing. We do see seals on the Thames. We get quite a few coming up through the locks. We've never been called to one, but we would certainly go. And we actually have a proper seal sling. It's been in my garage for many years gathering cobwebs, but we do have it. It is here, ready and waiting to be used.
Someone has asked as well, do we have an issue with the Potter cervii here in the UK? So for those of you who don't know, that's the deer fly. We do indeed get it in the UK. We tend not to get too much of an issue with it here. The biggest issue we have to deal with on most animals is flat flies. And I'm sure Simon can attest they are not the most pleasant creatures to work with.
Flat flies and ticks are the worst thing. Obviously we all have to be careful of ticks, especially as we do have this climate change, things getting hotter. We have to be very careful of ticks, because there are ticks, some ticks which give you, Laurie, it's gone out of my head, tell me what ticks give you.
Lyme disease.
Lyme disease, that's the one I wanted. Thank God I've got Laurie for so many reasons. So yes, you should always be aware and be careful, and if you do work for a wildlife place or get bitten by anything that you're not quite sure of, it is worth checking with the doctor, especially if you get an area that gets a bit red and that red area gets a bit bigger. It's always worth getting it checked out, but we're very lucky in this country. We don't get deadly snakes, we only get deadly lorries, and deadly lorries mummies, which are even more worrying, to be honest. Laurie, we're going to wind up any minute now.
Yeah, on that note, I was just about to say, it's probably time to wrap it up. Just a quick wave to Push Bike Camp, who's in the chat. Another fairly regular donator and follower on this live stream. Hello, and hope you're well.
And I promised, as always, to give a certain person who's very supportive of Wildlife Aid a great big smile. So there is my tired smile for the night, guys, before I say finally goodbye to you. And as I know of old, Laurie will always want the last word. Laurie, you did that on purpose, didn't you? That was really unfair, because we nearly hit our 4-second silence. So Laurie, say goodnight to everybody.
Good night from me, and...
It's good night from me. Stay safe.